Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and executive leaders who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday. It's November 3rd.
It is November 3rd. It's a
Wow.
happy Monday. And Ted, you know what else it is?
What else?
It is the 400th episode of the 30-Minute Hour.
400. Man, that's unbelievable. So this dates back to 2019.
February 11th of 2019.
That's unbelievable.
That's right. This is our 400th episode. Those of you that may be watching us live, if you want to comment, that way we can talk back to you. But yeah, this is a celebration show. It's the 400th episode. So the theme of today's show is 3 keys to achieving your 2025 goals. And we'll talk a little later in the episode about that. And that's going to be based off of some of our most downloaded episodes, 3 of our most downloaded episodes, some things that we took away from it. But before we get to that, we should, I think it would be good for us to kind of let people know how we got started, how we got to this point, and also kind of where we're headed in the future.
That sounds good.
All right, good. I'm glad you agree with that, Ted.
I agree. I think that's so.
Yeah.
I think it all gets all started with us saying, "Man, we want to work together. We're friends. We're around each other. Let's work together. Let's figure something out." And then we didn't know what it was going to be, but I think you get 2 good people together, a couple good people together, you can figure it out, right? So we had a meeting and we just started throwing around some ideas and came up with the concept of a podcast and connected with a millennial at that time that could give us some guidance on how to get started. And then we, I think within a week, we had our very first episode. And that very first episode, was that with, who was our very first guest?
So Tiffany was our first guest, but that was the second episode.
Okay.
So episode 1, we were really creative with the name, Ted. We thought outside the box.
Yeah.
We decided to title episode 1 "Getting Things Started." Whew.
Well, look at that episode. Getting things.
You can't have a better name for an episode 1 than "Getting Things Started."
At least it wasn't episode 1's title wasn't episode 1. Like
Right.
at least it was something. At least it was something.
Yeah,
Wow.
you got it. So yeah, so that was our first episode, February 11th of 2019, Getting Things Started. And then on February the 17th, we had episode number 2, which is HR Problems and Solutions. And that was our first ever guest, Tiffany Deans.
That was episode 2. Okay.
Episode 2. So those of you that are listening and watching, make sure you check those episodes out. So Ted, is interesting, right? So
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking, man, you know what? I'm pretty good at this, man. I think I got this podcast hosting thing down. This was maybe 100 and something episodes in, right?
Yeah.
Then I went back and listened to those episodes, and I was like, oh.
Little did you know. Little did you know. Yeah. But you always have that saying about not letting perfection, right? Kind of.
Right. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean to steal your thunder. Go ahead
But now that's the key. I think it's like you're alluding to. You can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody that's great at something at one point, they were bad at it. Right? No matter what you think about, but they got started and they worked through it. But most people aren't willing to suck at something, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's really the key thing that, because it takes reps, and you just
Mhm.
have to get the reps in. And if you're looking to start a podcast, I mean, that's just start from where you are, and you'll get better over time. So,
Yeah. It's just real interesting, how we started, and we were just initially just inviting guests that we knew within our circle, our network, and then bringing them into the office here and interviewing them, like kind of doing a whole live type of a. Well, no, we were recording it. We were recording it, and then
right.
we play back the recordings
Yep.
uh, after we had a chance to edit them.
Yeah. And so we would, like I said, it was all people that we knew. It would be someone from Hampton. It would be someone from Norfolk State. It would be someone from Kappa, the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. If I remember, we just had a lot of Kappas on. We didn't have enough Qs.
What?
That was my recollection of those early days.
My recollection was there was a lot of Omega. So yeah, I think it went both ways. And then a lot of people from church, wherever
Right.
circles were, that's what we pull
Right.
people in. And that only would have probably gone for us probably about a year, right? Because how many times we can keep bringing people on before they start ignoring coming on as a guest again? Look,
Right.
Ted, Eric, we've been a guest 5 times on your show.
This is my eighth appearance. I don't think I have anything else to say.
I'm not coming back on.
Yeah.
And then we did that, and then COVID hit, right? And we couldn't bring people into the office anymore to do the shows, and that was something that definitely required us to pivot, which I think has really kind of helped to eventually expand the show.
Absolutely, yeah, because that's when we started talking to people in Australia and England and Canada and all people all over the world. That was a total game changer, and we started to get outside of our typical friends and was it the friends and family program? We started
friends and family, man, and out of our comfort zone, because we started having conversations with just random people, and just never would have thought that those guests would just be kind of coming out. Like, it was to a point, man, we had guests lined up for several weeks and months at a time from once we went to an online kind of streaming approach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so that was definitely a pivot. And then and it's interesting that I'll be talking to clients that I coach, and then something will come up from one of the guests we had.
Yeah.
And it's just, but you don't think it's impacting you like that. But if you're talking to these high level people and the things that they impart, it stays, and it's not even something I wrote down, but it just starts to come. It just comes back to you.
Sure, we learned so much from so many people, right? I mean, just kind of listening to them share about their stories, share about their challenges. I mean, there's been some stories that we've heard from people, and we're like, wow, like, you really thought you had to go through some stuff, and it's someone that's gone through so much more than you, and had certain things kind of odds stacked up against them. And there's been a lot of those kind of success stories that success and pivot stories that we've heard over those 400 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of the takeaway there is just like, whatever challenges you think you have, there's somebody else who's got the same challenge or worse, but they've overcome it and they're making it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
There's some people that can totally make you feel like a slacker, like that. Yeah, you're thinking, you're like, what, you did that, and that's what you were up against. Psh, let me stop complaining.
Yeah. So the question is like, what's possible? That's really when you hear these stories, what's really possible for you. If this person can have these challenges and health situations and family situations and near-death experiences and all of that, what's possible for you? There's something to think about. So as far as where we're headed, a lot of our when we talk about AI and we're talking about cybersecurity, those shows tend to get downloaded a lot, and we get a
Mhm.
lot of buzz. So we'll definitely be bringing people more of those types of episodes
Yeah.
from subject matter experts. And the AI thing is always changing and evolving. So we'll have plenty to talk about on that topic. And I know you and I were even talking about we're going to focus even more on senior leadership in corporate America.
Hmm.
It could be the CEOs, senior vice presidents, chief information officers, more of those folks, in addition to what our entrepreneurial focus. So definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start talking about entrepreneur focus, and like every day on LinkedIn now, you see so many people that are leaving their jobs for one reason or the other, whether it's a riff, whether it's they're leaving the job because they decided to retire based on the current climate. And then you see, like, shortly after, those same individuals are saying they're launching a new business.
Yes.
And, on one side of that, you're like, man, that's great. On another side of that, it's like, okay, now there's more people into a pretty, kind of heavily populated business community that are trying to get to, business, whether it's in the, public or private sector. And so it's just interesting to look at this. I think that, right now, I think people realize that, no job is like secure anymore. Like you need to have a plan B, up your sleeve, because I think that's one thing, if anything, that this year has shown, right, is that things can, quickly change, right? Even going back to maybe if you think about everything that's kind of happened since we started the show, right? You think about COVID and everything that happened there, and it required a pivot. And then now you had the, kind of post COVID, right? That now people are, they're really into having virtual meetings and things like that, right? Like we'll probably never go back to, something where you don't leverage virtual platforms as much. And then now, with everything going on with the new administration, and, like thousands of people without jobs, like, just like that, right? But you still got to figure something out. You still got to pivot. There's only but so much you can do in any of those situations, right? Like you can't like just sit back and just complain about the hand that you've been dealt, right? You got to figure out a way to, to still come out on top. And it definitely, keeps you thinking, strategizing.
Oh, you have to. You mentioned Plan B. I mean, you couldn't get a more safe and secure job than a federal government job. I mean, you could be bad at a government job.
Man, it would take an act of Congress to get you out of there, right?
Man,
Like, they may just reassign you someplace, but like
right.
getting rid of you, no. Now they're getting rid of people that were doing a good job.
Yes. Yeah. So that's just a wake up call. And it goes back to what you said, Ted, about having a plan B.
Yeah.
And really, and I think we've talked about this before, that really your side thing should be your plan A, and
Yeah.
whatever your job is should be your plan B.
Yeah.
That thing that lines up with your passion and your calling and everything else. But yeah, it's been very, very interesting. But the key is being flexible and pivoting, and certainly our past episodes, if you go back and listen, somebody's got a story where they were forced to pivot.
Yeah.
So definitely want to check that out. So this is a good time, Ted, to get into this 3 keys to achieving your 2025 goals, because I mean it's November, right? That clock's ticking. It just seems like it was only yesterday that it was January and everybody was 0-0, right? Everybody, the Commanders said they were going to the Super Bowl and everything.
What a lot happened. I mean, just to touch on that a little bit, I know everybody may not care about the Commanders, but you think about one season when everything that could go right went right. Like everything, like little to no injuries. We actually even scored on a Hail Mary pass. And now everything goes wrong. We get all the injuries. We can't catch a ball even if it's handed to us, right? Like it's, just one thing after the other. And it's like, you don't, and people want to think, oh man, well, you're coaching, the coach is coaching so differently and the players aren't really trying. No, I just think sometimes the ball's bouncing your way and sometimes it's not. And we're seeing that, right now and with our team and having to figure it out when the ball doesn't bounce the way that, you'd like it to. And I think that happens in business and life and jobs and all of that as well.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. So there's somebody out here where maybe the ball's not bouncing for you. It's business. One thing I've learned is that like when things are going great, you're probably not the genius that everybody says you are.
Right.
We know think when revenue's up and you get the accounts and there's money in the bank and now you're the genius. You're probably benefiting from being in the right situation at the right time. You're not the genius. And then here's the other side of it too. When things aren't going well, you're not the village idiot that everybody says you are.
You're not as dumb as people think, right? It's not really. It's not really you. It's not really you.
Yeah, there's just some things working against you. That some of the things you were doing before, like I look at one of those at the Miami Dolphins. They're losing, and then everybody says, "Oh, they had a players only meeting, and people were late." And that was probably happening when they were winning.
Oh yeah.
There's
always the players only. You got 32 teams in the league that have players only meet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But we say all that to say, just you got to keep moving forward, right? It's just you just have to take it. So I just learned from being on this earth that when everything's going great, don't get too high up there, and then when things aren't going the way you want it, don't get too low. Just got to keep fighting. There's some things you're doing right that just aren't working right now. You just got to stay with it.
That's right. It's interesting. I can go to a networking event where there's thousands of people and not meet anyone. And then just the other day, I was at away, some friends, and we're at a hotel and we went to breakfast and just sat across from somebody and randomly started a conversation. And it was like, oh, this person was someone that could definitely, could possibly help my business. Right. And I was just expecting to go get some eggs, Eric. That was it.
Right.
I wanted to get some eggs and some fruit and some bacon. Right. No one was thinking that there could be a business opportunity right there. So
yeah. Just never, and that could be a game-changing connection. You just never know.
Never know.
So you just got to keep fighting the good fight. But yeah, so we're talking about the 3 keys to achieving your 2025 goals. 2025 is almost over. It's November 3rd. So we really need to be thinking about these things. So the first key I want to talk about, today, this is based off of episode number 365. People need to go and listen to episode number 365. It's the one where we had the Hampton University president, Daryl Williams, was our guest on that episode. And he said a lot of insightful things, but he said something that just stuck with me. And I think it's key if you want to really achieve your 2025 goals. He talked about being intentional about relationships. That's what he said, being intentional about relationships. And he was saying that, and I'd asked him, what would he have done differently, knowing what he now knows, if he could look back. And he said he would have been more strategic and intentional about building relationships that can help. And there's a book I'm reading kind of on a similar topic. It's called Who, Not How. Because a lot of times when we have a problem, you're trying to get more business, you're trying to get more sales, we think, how can I do this? Right? How can I get this account? Instead of thinking, who can help me? Who has a relationship? Who's already done it? So that's, I think, a key thing, being intentional about it. And that's something I got from that episode number 365. Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. It's all relationship driven. I was watching something on the news today, and they were talking about as people are trying to find jobs and having those challenges that really, it was it was kind of saying how most jobs, I can't remember the percentage, but most jobs come from a relationship, like
Right.
someone that you knew, someone that connected you to someone. So they were just talking about how important it is to, reach out to your mentors, reach out to your reference contact, reach out to the people in your circle, um, for opportunities, right? Instead of, you just sending out your resume and just filling out applications. I mean, you need to talk to the people that are, you know, in position or have the ability to influence others, and how critical, that is. I had we had several interns working for my company over the summer, and they wanted me to talk to them about networking. And so one of the things that we did, it was like a group of maybe like 7 to 10, college students, and I had them to start networking with each other, right? Kind of introduce themselves, kind of get to know each other, and just kind of like those, and was sharing with them how those relationships were going to be so critical because they were all from different universities. So there may be things that you can leverage to help each other out, or different universities, whatever. So they were networking. And then what I did was I took some of the people within our core organization, and then I had them go into the conference room for them to start networking with them, right? And just working on those things. And so some of those students since then have talked about how they've been able to stay in contact with the individuals that they were, you know, uh, in the program with. And again, those, you never know if you're thinking about transferring to a school that one of those, those guys are at, or maybe sharing information about internships and things like that. I mean, all of that is available through, through networking, right? And then just constantly, working on, meeting people and speaking to people. And then it's nothing wrong with finding out, what people do or whatever you can, around them, and not necessarily to get something, but just to, there may be something you can do for those individuals as well as you start to, you know, engage. So yeah, networking is a key thing for everything. I think for jobs, I think for business opportunities, I think access to, other resources. Yeah, I think it's endless.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a room full of business owners,
Hmm.
and I asked them a question. I said, "Okay, tell me the last great hire that you made for your company. How did you find that person?"
Mm.
And I'm thinking they're going to tell me, "Oh yeah, I ran this ad. I used this service." 80% of the time, it was some network. It was
Mm.
like, "Oh yeah, I was at this networking event and met so and so, or had this great customer and she referred me to him." It was 80% of the great hires in the room came from some type of network. So,
Wow.
so that can't be underestimated. So the challenge is for those of you listening or watching is when you look at your goals, the goals that you haven't accomplished yet, who can help you?
Yeah.
Let's step back for a little bit. Who can help you to get to the goal? Who's already accomplished it? Who's in that field? Who can introduce you to somebody? Who's a decision maker? Who? That's the
Yeah.
question we need to ask.
And you're always, I think, in auditioning for your next opportunity.
Absolutely.
One of my most recent employees was brought on because of an engagement with her at a restaurant as one of our servers, right? And then I recently had another situation like that where another server, she was just amazing, just the energy and just everything, just how she connected and was just talk. One, it opened up a great tip for her because of how she engaged and treated us, but then two, started talking about business, a possibility for a job opportunity. And the one thing, that I look at is you can't teach personality in energy,
Nope.
right? You can teach the job part, but like to have someone that really is a customer focused person and brings the energy and see, you can't, people either have that or they don't. And so just think anytime that you're engaging with someone, there's an opportunity that there may be an opportunity for, for your next job or your next contract or something, just because how you present yourself.
Yeah, you just never know who's watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key thing to remember. And just what if she had been nasty to you
Oh,
or rude? She would have missed out and not even known it.
missed out on the tip, missed
Right.
out on the job opportunity, all of that.
Yeah. So you just never know. I think that's a great point. So the second key, we're talking about these three keys to achieve your 2025 goals, is you have to be able to embrace change. And I know we had episode number 371 with General Alice Trevino.
Mm.
And she talked about these leadership attributes that were important to her. She said patience, positivity, change, and courage. So I think those are things to really think about uh, as you embrace change. And so the one, that patience thing is critical.
Mm.
Ted, it's a challenge for me.
You and me, Bo. You and me, Bo. People have issues with patience all the time. You could be riding in a car with someone and they just get upset because somebody in front of them is moving so slow, and they're not even in a rush to go anywhere, right? It's just like, you just want to move. You want things to move the way that you want them to move, and you have to have patience in this stuff, man. You can't be so willing to quit, right? It's things are not going to move as fast as you'd like them to go. And then sometimes, right, you get teased, right, because something moves really quick, right? So we go back to talking about the Commanders, right?
Right. Right.
We've been beyond patient for 30 years of no real winning seasons. Then last year we get, oh man, one game before the Super Bowl, and we're like the next year, oh, we're there. Like now we're like, oh, what? Like we got to go back. We got to go back to being patient again. When we thought we were there, right? And so patience it's a tough thing. I mean, we want it now. We want it now.
Yeah. I think it required, we've talked about this on the show before, aggressive patience,
Mm,
right? Where you understand that certain things take time, but you're moving with urgency still,
that's right. That's right.
right? You're doing everything you possibly can, but you still understand that yes, certain things it's not always going to be an overnight thing.
That's right.
It's almost like when the people that win the marathon, they're running. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
But the people that win the marathon, they're running that long race at a sprinter's pace.
Yes.
They're sprinting for 26 miles.
Crazy. Crazy. Crazy.
So they recognize that it's going to take long, but they're still running at a pretty quick pace there. So I think that's just the key thing that'll help us to embrace change. We understand that we need aggressive patience. You just need to do everything that you have control over, control the controllables. And I think the other thing she mentioned, positivity. You definitely have to stay positive.
Yep.
And I think Ted, you're Mr. Positivity. I think this is important if you're leading people, right? And you want them to embrace change, and you're trying to get to this goal. If you're negative, they're going to be negative as well.
Yeah, that's key, and it's tough, and it's not that you as a leader you don't feel like this is taking too long or disappointment or whatever, but because everyone else is kind of, I guess it's kind of like a bird kind of feeding the little birds, right? Like that they're trying to get from you, whatever that food is to keep them going and get them moving, and you got to be able to give them something positive, right, and to keep them on track, because it's real easy to kind of fall into a into that dark place, right? When things are not moving well, or there's disappointment, within something that a whole lot of time and effort's been put into. So, but as you talk about, this point of embracing change, right? There's been so much of that. Again, we go back to COVID, right? Like, wait a second, you're in the office every day, and now you got to go back home. Everybody has to work from home, right? And you can't go out. Like, this is unprecedented. Like, when in your life have you been in a place where you can't go?
I can't go outside.
You can't go outside. Outside is closed. Outside is closed. What? What do you mean outside is closed? Yeah, outside is closed. And we had to embrace that, right? And then, the things that we talked about, with just this past, hasn't even been a year, Eric. Like this past, 9-10 months, and everything that's happened, and things have been changed, and having to, to kind of embrace the change and pivot, because you can only, complain about it, but so much, right? Like, at the end of the day, you still need to pay your bills. You still need to eat, right? So,
Exactly.
whether you don't think this is fair or not, like this is the situation. Like, you gotta figure it out. And you can, if you're gonna have that one day, that one evening where you're gonna jump up and down and throw some stuff and break some stuff and yell at the top of your lungs, okay, now that you got that out, now what? Because you still,
what we gonna do?
What we gonna do?
Absolutely. You got to stay positive. So, again, please go back and listen to that episode number 371 with General Alice Trevino. She really broke it down in a unique way.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about being intentional about relationships, which is episode number 365. President Williams from Hampton University. We talked about embracing change with General Trevino, episode number 371. So the third key to achieving your goal is to transform your challenges into opportunity. That's episode number 392 with Holly Porter. And that was another one, where you and I were just like, what? If you remember, Holly was the one that had all of these out-of-body experiences, and she had COVID and really should have died, but somehow came back to life, and just had a bunch of these death-related experiences, and then went on to write 15 books and had has a successful company. She's the one where she was going to partner with a billionaire.
Yeah.
And the billionaire was going to help her with this venture, but then she said she heard God telling her that not to deal with this guy. So she did. So she listened to the voice, and everything worked out very well, and business took off and everything. But that's definitely an episode for a number of reasons you want to listen to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's all about transforming your challenges into opportunities, and I'm just amazed that two people can have the same thing happen to them, Ted, and then one person, they go in the tank, the other person, it's the best thing that ever happened to them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So just think about those of you listening and watching, what challenges that you've got right now, and what can you do to transform that into an opportunity. And it's really about, like, what do you learn? Like, especially if you make a mistake, you have a setback. Mm-hmm. Maybe a client meeting doesn't go well, potential client meeting. What can you learn from that?
Right.
That's the key, right? That's something I try to, anybody I'm working with, and they tell me, I just hired this person a week ago, and I'm having to terminate him because he just didn't work out. So my question is always, okay, well, what did you learn from that? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Eric, next time I'm going to actually check his references like you suggested I do before I hire him.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how you transform that challenge. So the next time you'll be better. If we can focus on what the lesson learned is, when you get the next opportunity, you'll be better. And that's how you transform your challenges into opportunities.
And then you don't have to beat yourself up about it, right? Because
Yes.
it's not like you went into it for it to not work.
Right.
Right. Like there's door A and door B, and you went into door A because you really felt good about the possibilities behind door A, right? That there was going to be, this person was going to work out really well for you, that this business opportunity was going to go well, or this partnership was going to go well. You went into it thinking that, and one thing led to another, and it didn't. But I mean, you see these people out there that are so successful, right? Some of these business owners or these people in some of these, these key executive positions, but you don't really hear about the misses, right? You just see, oh man, he's killing it here. He's winning all these deals, or hey, let's look at the highlight of this athlete making this game-winning shot. But how many of the game-winning shots did he shoot that he didn't make? Right, and learn from that, and didn't go right into the tank because of, you hear that saying was like fail forward, right? Like,
right.
That's really a key thing. I think that's really a profound kind of a statement. You need to fail forward, right? You're going to learn from it, but don't let it necessarily take you out.
It's interesting. I've been watching a lot of Kobe Bryant YouTube videos here lately, and one of the things he talks about is like whether you have like a great success or a great failure, you should really treat them both the same. From the standpoint of, like, let's say if you have a great failure, you should be thinking about, okay, what can I learn from this, so that I can do better next time. And the same thing, like if you have a great success, what can I learn from this?
What did I do? What did I do right this time? Yeah.
Right. Why was I successful? Why did this one video get 1 million views when my other videos been getting 200 views?
Wow.
And so that way you can duplicate it.
No, that's a great point. You can learn from each situation. That's key.
There you go. So you got to transform your challenges into an opportunity, and focus on the lesson learned and keep it moving. So there you have it. So we said, number 1, be intentional with the relationships from episode 365. Number 2, embrace change from episode 371. Number 3, transform your challenges into opportunities from episode number 392.
That was good.
If you do that, you'll be on your way to achieving your goals.
Man, so we're going to get ready for this next, I guess, getting ready for 500 episodes, right? I guess that'll be the next kind of monumental show.
It'll be here before we know it. We got to do it big for episode 500.
That's it. Yeah. Have a party or something, like do it all. Right? A virtual party. That's what we're going to do.
That's right. It's going to be a virtual party, and those of you watching and listening, you'll be invited.
That's right.
So be on the lookout. All right. Well, good stuff. Don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
That's right. Don't keep great information a secret. Don't forget, you can actually go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those podcasting platforms and subscribe. Hit subscribe or the follow button, and that way you'll never miss a future episode.
And we thank you all for your support and downloads and shares and all of that. We wouldn't have made it to 400 episodes without you, but we'd like to do some more. Share more.
Exactly.
Right. Download more. And we appreciate you.
We sure do. All right. That's our time this week on the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And remember, don't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
Absolutely.